And we are talking about She-Hulk episode 2 and 3. We are going to give our reviews of the episodes and then get into a spoiler breakdown of the episodes starting now. Welcome to Nerd Social. I'm Nathan.
And I'm Colin.
Hey, so we missed last week because I was traveling. I was in Kenya for our work last week. So we're gonna try to review both of these episodes and actually break down in a time efficient way the two episodes. So we won't be spending an hour on this. So we'll probably maybe glance over most of the plot points when we get into the breakdown. So anyway, Colin, what did you think of episode 2 last week? The log line for that episode, which was called Superhuman Law, is Jen is hired as at a prestigious law firm, but must practice as She-Hulk and in a rep. Sorry, and rep a complicated client. Sorry, rep a complicated client. Represent, I think, a complicated client. Yeah, what do you think of the last week?
Really, I've been very surprised in terms of the reveals that they have and also the callbacks. This is a very very, very extensive callback show. Whereas a lot of the other shows in the past where, we talked about Moon Knight, we talked about, WandaVision, not many callbacks. But like for this show specifically, there are so many of them here. And I really like them kind of going backwards and referring back to different plot points, which were at times from a different company or different or different characters or something like that. So I really enjoyed that type of history that they try to present. We saw that in the first episode as well with Bruce Banner, and kind of the references that he brings to it. So I really enjoyed that part of it. I also enjoy the part that she's very driven professionally, and also there was a time in which she let's just say that it wasn't the best of times for her during this episode, but she was able to kind of pull herself out of it, through different ways. So in all, as to say, all in all, it was pretty good episode overall.
Yeah, I liked the second episode. I don't think that I liked it as much as the first episode. I feel like what they should have done is release those two episodes together because it just makes sense. If they're going to do it, if they have the origin story and then kind of the second episode is really kind of like setting up the show for like what the show is going to be. They really should have just dropped those two episodes at the same time, and I think it would have made me like the second episode more because it seemed they I guess the first episode I guess seems complete if you're going into a completely different show, but if you're setting up this show where it's basically just a law drama, you kind of need the second episode to set up the second to set up the entire show. I think all those two half an hours together is basically the pilot. I mean, I know that wasn't originally the pilot because apparently episode 1 was originally going to be episode 8. They were going to do the origin story in episode 8, but I think it would have served as a nice pilot if they had actually put those two together. But besides that I guess qualm, I think it was a good episode. It was a solid episode. As I said, it does do the work of setting up the rest of the series and what we should expect in the rest of the series, to a certain extent. I think episode 3 even does it even in more, because I think we're going to basically get cases every week. Yeah, it was a good episode. I think of the 3, it's probably my least favorite right now, but it's not like my least favorite by a lot. It's probably like a 6 or 6.5 for me. Whereas the first one was like a 7. In the third one is probably like a 7.5 or yeah, it's a 7.5. It was a solid episode. So speaking of the third one, This one is called "The People versus Emil Blonsky," and if you
Mm-hmm.
know who Emil Blonsky is, that's kind of a spoiler for the second episode. But if you don't, I guess it isn't a spoiler. But the tagline for this is Shiok represents Emil Blonsky, although the tagline actually has a spoiler in it, aka the Abomination. But his parole hearing doesn't go as planned. So, what did you think of the third episode?
This one actually just kind of opened it up from the second episode, as you said, is kind of definitely a spoiler for the second episode. But then it kind of goes into his world, goes into kind of the how is Jennifer is able to take on all this type of fame and notoriety, and also the haters. So it was very meta in a lot of ways. There's a lot of fourth wall breaking in this one. So it definitely felt as though it was like not making fun of itself, but it was winking at the audience a number of times. Even if it wasn't the fourth wall stuff, there was definitely a lot of winks and nods to what's going on in the third episode, rather than the second episode was kind of like straight on just story driven, and kind of some building about Jennifer's family as well. So yeah, the third episode I did enjoy as well. I would say I would say out of the three, I would say the first one's probably still pretty good. I think that probably the best one. And then like 2 and 3 are pretty much the same for me, like in the same level.
Yeah. Like I said, I think the third one is my favorite. I appreciate the stuff with Bruce in the first episode, but the third episode is just funny. Like I laughed out loud at a couple spots where I actually rewound and just played them over again, and I didn't have. It's supposed to be a comedy, right? Like I'm grading it on that criteria. Like not like the cool I don't know, MCU things. Although there are a bunch of cool MCU things in this one as well. There are cameos in episode 3 as well. But yeah, it was just they were just like laugh out loud moments in this episode that I appreciated, and also some like sharp critiques of like social critiques as well, which I also appreciate, and which we can get into when we break it down a little bit, which was pretty cool. So yeah, I enjoyed this a bit more than the first episode, but not like a lot more. Like I said, the first episode was like a 7 for me. This one was like a 7.5. So yeah, that's what I think about the third episode. All right, so I think we should get into, I guess, some of the major plot points of the second episode before we roll into the third episode. Before we do that, I will say, if you're enjoying the conversation, if it's useful to you, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It helps the channel grow. And we can give you more content like this. We are not only reviewing this, but also a lot of Star Trek stuff. I guess Lord of the Rings eventually when it comes out later this evening. Game of Thrones, Andor when it comes out later on this month, and also Stargirl as well, because we got some screeners from CW and Stargirl. All right, so spoilers ahead. All right, so I have a lot of screenshots from the episode. So like I said, I'm gonna try to run through this fairly quickly now that we're in spoiler breakdown territory. So episode 2 kind of starts with the aftermath of the scene at the end of episode 1, which was Jen saving people, and she gets her name She-Hulk from this random news guy. Which what Bruce kind of wonder about it. You never get a say about what they're gonna call you.
Yes.
And that was even the case for like Tony. The news media called him Iron Man, right?
Right.
I
Correct.
guess that's the case. That's often the case with many superhero stories. I think Lois Lane even named Superman, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, he did. Yeah, she did.
in a completely different universe. So yeah, so these random guys name her, and then everyone is very excited about She-Hulk. She comes in, she starts drinking. She's feeling good about herself. This guy, um, people were a little groany about his line here that he said he sees there's a hot chick over there. I'm gonna go talk to it. I don't know anyone who speaks like that, but I feel like I know people who exist like that. Like I
Yeah.
don't know anyone who speaks like that because I wouldn't be like around those kind of people. But I also like from afar know people who exist like that. So I don't know. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if it was too far of like the writing team to write someone like that. But like I don't know. I've talked to guys in passing that I don't want to associate with that are sort of like that or
Mm-hmm.
even worse. So yeah,
Yeah,
um,
I just feel as though his character is definitely a little bit over the top, but for dramatic effect. I mean, also
yeah,
we all know people like that, you know,
yeah,
and I think that we hopefully kind of evolved a little bit. Especially the people that I associate with don't ever
yeah,
talk like that. So,
right,
but who knows? Maybe people in the audience they've encountered people that are family members or even friends that they have encountered like that.
yeah. So this is where she loses her job, and also they do the gag here. I think they actually have the same gag in the comics. When she changes body types, her metabolism changes, so
Mm-hmm.
she passes out almost immediately because she was drinking
Yeah.
heavily as She Hulk. So yeah, she loses her job here, and then we get after she loses her job because and she loses her job for like I don't think there's any ill will towards her. Like her boss says, you did the right thing. You should have saved those people, but like you're going to be a distraction, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
a lot of a lot of mistrials are going to be. Our job here is to make sure that we win. That's our job, not your spectacle sideshow.
Right.
So we gotta let you go, and it's not just her boss. Like she's finding an issue. She's finding issues finding any kind of job because you can see here she starts at a very prestigious law firm. You can see the background changing to even like crappier law firms, and they all reject her. So yeah, which was funny. There was a
Yeah, I
whole lot.
definitely sympathize with that part of it. Having been in that type of position before in the past, dealing with. I mean, she mentioned back in the first episode that she had a ton of student loans because she went to law school,
Yeah,
and definitely felt that type of empathize with her on that end.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of like chatter last week about the fact that I think there's a bar brawl thing that shows up here. What does it say? Man
Oh,
fights
the
with metal
Wolverine
claw.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man fights with metal claws. And also there's a QR code here. If you didn't get it from last week, it might still work. I think sometimes they switch them out and they don't work anymore.
Mm.
But it might still work. You see.
But also in this other one here, they actually reference Eternals as well. So it was like we talked about how Eternals was kind of like in its own separate universe. Nobody ever mentioned that there was a giant kind of celestial that are coming out of the earth. They
Yeah,
finally mentioned it here, so it's like okay, we got that check mark there, where the newer properties are actually mentioning what happened in that movie.
yeah. They do mention the Eternals, and they also have a. Apparently, they have some Jordans here that look like Iron Man threes that are sort of like Jordans. So there are a couple MCU references there.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, then we get the interesting dinner scene with her family here. Um, they're the not I forget what his name is. Not
Mark Lynn
Val
Baker.
Mark Lynn Baker
Mark Lynn Baker. Yeah.
from now I'm blanking on the
Perfect
the show,
Strangers,
because we were
Perfect Strangers.
we were just talking about it. Yeah, I just, the only thing is in my head, I keep saying Balky. Balky was the name of the other character, not him in the show. But yeah,
for those of you that don't know, I mean, we're dating ourselves a little bit. Perfect Strangers was a sitcom from the '80s. So it talked about these two cousins. That one cousin that lived in Chicago, played by Mark Lynn Baker. So that's Jen's father there, and about his cousin Balky, who came from the island of Mypos. I remember. Yeah. So it's a odd couple type of dynamic that.
Which would date us even more if we actually. I mean, I don't know if you remember the Odd Couple, but I know that it was referencing the Odd Couple. But the Odd Couple is I think from the 70s.
Right.
Right.
One other fact is that we all some people remember Urkel. I mean, the Urkel, the show Family Matters.
It was a backstory pilot.
Was spinoff.
Yeah, it was a spinoff
of this.
Yeah. There was a spinoff of the at Larry's job. The elevator operator was Harriet Winslow.
Winslow. Yep.
Yeah.
So a lot of lines, a lot of threads. I think someone mentioned. I think one of my family members mentioned that a lot of these executives that are in prominent television entertainment roles. They grew up in the '80s, so it's like they're trying to bring back all the '80s references. You see with a lot of different properties right now. They're trying to bring that back. So it's fairly interesting to kind of bring those '80s type of icons, legends that are returning to these shows.
Yeah. So I think the family scene here is not that remarkable, except for the heart to heart with her father, where he's like, the thing that you were dreading has happened and you're still standing, which I think is good, is just good general advice for like humans.
Yes.
So you can just carry on. And this is when she gets her the opportunity for the job. This guy is he's straightforward in the fact that he's a little bit of an asshole. He's a different kind of asshole. He's a kind of like a rich ass as opposed to the dentist who he worked with. Like he obviously is maneuvering just so he can make as much money as possible with the publicity of the whatchamacallit. But like this whole conversation, this whole exchange, but also not telling her until she shows up that he's not really hiring her, he's hiring She-Hulk, is a little slimy.
Yes.
And not I mean, it's a little slimy for a lot of reasons, right? Like I don't know if she would have said no, but let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Given how desperate she was, she probably would have said yes. Okay, she would have said yeah. It would have at least prepared her to show up with clothes that could actually fit her, as opposed to making her turn into She-Hulk and it being super tight. Like, I mean, she's luckily Jen, I guess, wears clothes that are a little bit loose. But like she had to take off her shoes and she's walking through the this is her first introduction to her colleague. She's walking through the office with like no shoes on, because she would have torn her shoes apart, in a suit that's super tight. Like he put her in this weird situation. But anyway, which she sort of she sort of comments on here. Go ahead.
Yeah, this dynamic was very interesting, where she's talking to the camera and really kind of like giving those type of anxieties and fears that any type of woman that's in a professional environment might feel. So I really admire that this part came out, and that yes, we all understand that. It's funny because one of my family members talked about, like, she's pretty privileged. I mean, yes, she is. She's very privileged, but at the same time, it doesn't really. I would argue that doesn't really negate the fact that she does struggle in this environment, because she is a professional. She's trying to make a career out of herself, but then have all these different types of, anxieties, or also these type of, microaggressions that happen in the workplace. I mean, we all experience that. So it's definitely very refreshing that this comes out in her dialogue to the audience.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone's struggle is the same, so that's one thing. And yeah, she's privileged. She's a privileged white woman, so it's not like, and she also has superpowers. So it's not like boo-hoo her. It's more about like these are specific things that people may not see. Just like in the first episode when she mentioned all the things that she has to deal with, even though she was a lawyer and she comes from a place of privilege. Those are things that a lot of women have to deal with, and if you want to layer on other intersectional identities, black women or people of color will probably have to deal with even more stuff. But yeah,
correct.
I appreciate I do appreciate them mentioning some of the stuff that she has to deal with, because those are not necessarily things that everyone has to deal with. So yeah, so yeah, this is what she finds out that she's going to represent Emil. And she objects at first, and this guy again, little sleazy, says, if there's no job for you if you don't take this on. So and he suggests that she at least speak to him, and then we get a very funny scene with I forget the name of the actor now, off the top of my head. Who's playing Emil from
Tim Roth.
Tim Roth. Yeah, Tim Roth. Yeah, he's basically playing a different character, because like the way, if you go back and you watch the Incredible Hulk, he's very, very like type A, like amped up, like
right.
I'm gonna go. So it's possible that he got much more mellow while in jail. At least I don't know how much do you buy his transformation into a Zen poetry writing person. I mean, we do see.
Yeah.
I mean, this is spoiler time, so we already did the reviews earlier on, so we can do a little bit of spoilers for the next episode. We do see in the next episode that he is able to control his anger and also move back and forth between himself and the Abomination, and also keep his identity. And that's something that Bruce wasn't even able to do without a lot of experiments. So it's possible that he's more centered. It's possible that he actually has been doing meditation. You get a lot of, you get his testimony to this, and also there's a lot of other people inside the prison as well who attest to his leading yoga retreats and like in meditation and things like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, never say never. I mean, this could be a whole hoax and ploy to kind of like get on the people's good graces, but maybe they're just trying to set him up to be like the anti-hero that a lot of the DC people do with Suicide Squad. I mean, that's rumored that he's going to be in the Thunderbolts movie, so it makes sense that he's going to have this type of redemption arc, that he might still have to be in prison somehow, some way, or he did something. There might be some general misunderstanding that he would have, and like, okay, you're gonna get hired by Valentina to do all this stuff. So who knows? I mean, we could go a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I don't know that there's actual like rumors. I think there's more speculation. The internet speculates about a lot of things that they suspect is going to happen based upon the comics. Really, the Thunderbolts has the Red Hulk on it, but the actor William Hurt, who played Thunderbolt Ross, has passed away. So there's a lot of speculation that the Abomination will be on that team instead of the Red Hulk.
Right.
Yeah, I guess it's possible. You do have all these villains, and you bring back Tim Roth after being gone for like 15 years. You could use him in something down the road. So it's possible, but I think it's mostly speculation. I don't think it's been confirmed. We know that we're getting a Thunderbolts movie. So right. people have been speculating for a long time. I mean, sometimes speculation is true. Like for a good part of like, since we saw Valentina, whatever the rest of her name is, what you call it, There has been speculation about the Thunderbolts, and Kevin Feige confirmed it during Comic-Con earlier this year. So it's possible the speculation is true, but it's also possible that people are off and he's not going to be on the roster. There'll be other people on the Thunderbolts. But yeah, this whole exchange is interesting because he does make some good points here. Thunderbolt did pump him with super serum at the first. That's when he was running after the Hulk, and the Hulk just threw him into it like a tree. But after that, it was his own. He went after more Hulk serum after that on his own volition, right? He went and found the I forget the guy, the name of the doctor who's going to become the Thinker.
Mr. Blue.
So he went and tried to find him to get even more into his body. So like I think he's telling half truths here, based upon the movie. But you can see from the beginning though, like he could reasonably say that the super soldier serum wasn't exactly the same mix as the Captain America serum, so maybe it made him go a little mad a little bit. So anything after that wasn't his own doing. So yeah, we get a little bit of hint here that Bruce is going to be basically gone for the rest of the show, and again, more speculation on the internet that he's going to, I don't know, going back to Sakaar to talk to his son or something like that, or find his son. Again, we don't know. Speculation. I think the license from Universal is coming up soon, so maybe they're laying the groundwork for a movie, because they haven't been able to do a movie with him because the Universal has owned the rights for theatrical releases, so he's only been able to be a side character. So that's basically the end of the episode, and until like she thinks she has a good defense, and then we see some of these scenes that we saw in Shang-Chi last year, pretty much exactly around this time, because I think Shang-Chi came out on the second or the fourth or something like that of last year. Maybe it was the third. So that's how that ends, and then we have I guess a cute but not really not as funny as the first after credit scene, and not as funny as the third after credit scene. She's basically just doing some chores for her family in the after credit scene here. It's cute, but and we also had, and I guess the other thing from the conversation that Bruce and she had in the car, I guess he was being facetious when he said that Chet is the other genius in the family, because Chet is no genius. So yeah, we start. This is the third episode, and we start off with her storming into the prison and confronting him, and she is like to him that, you lied to me. You said that you can't change, and he said, no, I didn't say that. I said I choose not to, and this is true. He did say he chooses not to, because she does ask him pointedly, can you not change? And he says, no, I choose not to. So maybe she was hearing what she wanted to hear. There's also there was a lot of jokes.
What is that though? That's kind of weird. It's like, what is actually that? Like, is that like a Facebook page or social media
it's
profile?
It's like a LinkedIn profile, but it's like a It's like a fake LinkedIn profile, not a real LinkedIn profile. So you could I can zoom in here. Let's see if the zoom in actually works. We see a couple of things here, like he's a sorcerer reprieve in New York, and also librarian in Carmitage, but also he was a Target sales associate, which was
Target sales associate.
That's
hysterical. Wow.
That gave me a chuckle today. It wasn't that wasn't the thing that I laughed out loud at, but it did give me a chuckle when I saw it. So yeah. It's
Wow.
before he was a librarian, he was a target sales. So apparently, there's a target in Carmitage. At least in
Probably.
at least in this world. Um, I appreciate this four for all break. It's very funny, because what happens here is that she breaks the fourth wall to say that don't get too excited about Wong because it's just her show, but also it shows that she knows that it's a show because you can see the same truck pass by, so you can see that she knows that she's on the set, and you see the same truck pass by here. See it? The first that so there's just like basically just some footage just going back and forth. Usually they're better about that, but I think they showed it. They did that specifically because she was doing that fourth wall break because she's like, I'm in a show. I know I'm in a show, and the show's about me, not Wong or Bruce or Emil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So funny.
It was funny. So then we get some newsreels, and like I said, them basically predicting
This
all the stuff that
all the hate. Yeah.
all the hate. I mean, so like, I don't know how much they had to predict this stuff. They could have just read some of the crap from the last year or so and just put it in the script because they have been saying this crap for a while. The only thing that they couldn't put in here is MCU because honestly, the inside of the MCU, the words MCU don't mean anything. They wouldn't call it the Marvel Cinematic Universe inside the MCU, but like it's the same stuff here. Like I've been in so many groups where it's the same exact stuff as Mick said. So we got affirmative action with superheroes here. No more female superheroes, please. Why are you turning every superhero into a girl? No one asked for that. This guy says they took the Hulk's manhood away, and they gave it to a woman. Now that's the thing that I hear
exactly
so much,
what that's
so much.
Yeah.
That same gripe over and over
Yep.
again. Like, oh, he's neutered and he's weaker, and like, okay, whatever. Character growth is apparently not a thing that adult men of a certain maturity have ever heard of. Why everything gotta be female now? Wow, someone find a way to cancel She-Hulk is that one, and so we have a Me Too movement, and now all the male heroes are gone again.
See,
Ridiculous.
this is what I meant by the meta. Is like very meta stuff that they just brought out, and it's just like it's very, very creative, very interesting, and very intriguing. That they're able to kind of like because they I mean they've been kind of talking about how Phase 4 has been it's been the woke thing, and also that the quality's not as good and all this other stuff. I have to say that it's actually been, they actually have really upped the ante. Yes, they've had some misses. Don't get me wrong, they've had some misses here and there, but I mean I think that even with this show, but also Ms. Marvel, you can definitely see that there's a level there that the creativity of self-awareness that I think that it's very important to show.
Yeah, and also I feel like some of the criticism is unfounded because they don't know what the makers of these shows are going for. Like, not all of these shows are meant to be like Oscar bids. This show is meant to be a comedy, and I think sometimes it hits that mark and sometimes it doesn't. Other show, Miss Marvel was meant to be a coming of age story. It's sort of like a freeform show, but a little bit better than most of the freeform shows, because I actually watched like Cloak and Dagger, and it had some high points, but like it wasn't generally as good as Miss Marvel was. Like, they're trying to write for different audiences because it's a whole universe, and they have a whole streaming service that they can do different tones.
Right.
So anyway, the speculation here, this guy who apparently put Blonsky away is called Gideon Wilson, which is the name of Sam Wilson's brother in the comic books. But
Oh.
if you saw Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he didn't have a brother. So I don't know what this is about. I don't know why they chose this specific name. Um, Also, Gideon Wilson has had some like dealings with the Hulk as well in the comics, so it's weird that they chose Gideon Wilson and they chose this guy to be a black guy, and the guy who put Abomination away. If he's not related to Sam Wilson, there's a whole lot of coincidences here that they could have chose any other name or any other last name. So it's weird because like in fucking Minnesota they had like pictures of Sarah and Sam as children, and it was just the two of them, I think, in like on the boat and stuff like that. So I don't know what this is about. It's a little weird, but maybe we'll get some answers down the road. I didn't get a chance to look into this to see if this was Anthony Mackie's actual brother or something like that. That would have been really interesting. I think he's the only person. Actually, I think Anthony Mackie's the only actor in his family. I think I remember from a specific interview that a bunch of his siblings are like in STEM fields and they do like nonprofits and stuff like that down in New Orleans.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is also an interesting. This is the first time we see her as She-Hulk in this episode. She's obviously wearing a men's suit here. That's because this is how she likes to dress. She likes to dress. She doesn't like to dress like in tight clothing. The only reason that it was tight last week is because she was forced to go into She-Hulk form. Forced to go into She-Hulk form when she got to work. But yeah, this is cut very, very large. Basically a men's suit, and you can imagine that she unless she goes to a tailor, to get it tailored as a woman's suit, this is probably what she could buy off the rack. They probably have some suits that are this large for guys that are about 7 feet tall. I mean, I don't know. I feel like even a guy at 7 feet tall, you gotta get a custom suit. You gotta get a custom suit.
Yeah.
7 feet is tall. And so yeah. But if they have something on the rack, it's gonna be for a guy and not a woman that's 7 feet tall. I know 7 feet tall women actually exist in the real world, but there are not a lot of them. As there aren't a lot of 7 feet tall dudes. So yeah, this is the part that really made me laugh out loud. This whole
Dennis is back.
this whole exchange with Dennis, where he thought that he was dating Megan the Stallion. He just recounts all the stuff that he did for this woman. And Jen is like, you thought that you were dating Megan Thee Stallion, multi-Grammy winning Megan Thee Stallion. And what made me bust out laughing is she's like, and you thought she drove a Passat. You thought she drove.
Yeah. She would like to ride in a Passat. Yeah, that's her preference.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I think when you're that in love or when you're that gullible, I think that you believe anything. You believe. Yeah.
Or that deluded, like
Exactly.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, and then we get Wong showing up, and she's off that case until the end when they merge the A and B plot lines. As she mentions later on. Anyway, so this was a conversation with Wong, and Wong says that he took him out because he needed to train for the Sorcerer Supreme. This seems like a weak excuse, and it seems also like irresponsible. But I don't know. Maybe all the Sorcerer Supremes are irresponsible. The Ancient Ones was a little irresponsible, pulling power from the Dark Dimension. Steven's irresponsible doing like minor race spells, and he's irresponsible, just letting a beast out to fight. But I don't. I feel like maybe he's lying there. I don't know. It seems like a weird excuse.
Yeah, but also he did mention about mind erasing there. He was like, "Oh, we shouldn't do that again." It's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't do that again. You're right.
Yeah.
It's too funny.
So this is where we find out that the guy in the big plot, he lost $175,000, and Pug it makes a good point here. It's like that's a whole house. That's a whole house in some parts of the country. That's a lot of money to give up. We're like, okay,
yeah,
and then we have a glimpse here of Megan actually, I think it was Megan switching over here into the elf, which was funny, and also the elf. Apparently, the elf was like stalking him because she was in the office listening to this conversation to go after to go in there right after he comes in. Then we get some gossip from the news.
Mm-hmm.
This guy says, is it right? Is it true that you're rejected by the Avengers? And then the woman next to him is like, we're hearing rumors that she was rejected from the Avengers. I don't know. Commentary on the about the world we live in. Unfortunately,
yes, I know.
His cult rolls in here, which is funny. And this is the testimony that I was mentioning earlier about because Wong is late. The people that testify on his behalf, or the staff at the prison, the librarian, janitor, or maybe the guard or something like that. All testify that all the meditation, yoga stuff is actually true, apparently. And then we get Wong, who explains to them what the issue is. Here,
that one last thing before he left, the guy he said basically that you taking him away is a crime, and then he's like, oh really? I'm gonna leave now. I found that amusing attack.
He said I must depart. Yeah, later on he said I must depart. He's like, it was funny. And this elf here, this whole exchange was also funny as well. Like the fact that she has like no regard for like being locked up, because I think she was awarded he was awarded damages at the end, but I think she was also sanctioned for like impersonating a judge, which is ridiculous. So there's speculation here back and forth about the fact that this judge said that your diplomatic immunity isn't admissible here. So if she was a diplomat of the U.S., it would be admissible. But she's not a diplomat of the U.S. She's a diplomat of New Asgard, from one of the other realms. She's a diplomat from the Light Elf realm, and I think what he's saying is true. Like that's great for New Asgard. That means you're a diplomat of Asgard, but you're not a diplomat of the U.S. So it doesn't matter what your diplomatic immunity is with Asgard, unless there's some sort of treaty with Asgard to say that our diplomats are covered on, but that's not usually how diplomatic immunity works. Like your diplomatic immunity is for the country that you're in, not it doesn't extend to the allies of the countries so yeah, I there are some people that were like confused about that on the internet, because diplomatic immunity is a shield from culpability, but I don't think, from what they said, what her lawyer said in the courtroom, she didn't say that she was a diplomat from whatchamacallit. She said that she in New Asgard she has diplomatic immunity, and they are not in New Asgard. They are in Los Angeles. So So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what her diplomatic immunity is in New Asgard, because she's not a resident of New Asgard. She's a resident of the Light Elf realm.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. So yeah, and this is where she impersonates him, and yeah, and then Wong testifies here, and this is also when Emil changes, and freaks everyone out. But yeah, he has control. He has control here. Yeah, he has control here, and this is also where you say when you mention that Wong basically says, "I must depart." He just admitted to facilitating a prison escape, which is a crime, and it's like, "I must depart." Bye.
Like, whoops.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Jennifer Walters rushing by, undoubtedly hoping to avoid protesters. So yeah, they. I think Emil also has a conversation with her later on. This is also when she says connecting the A and B storylines. This is the other time she talks to the screen. Yeah, and then she goes to the court the next day to basically lambast him but also help him out. She gets him $175,000 back. Technically, I don't know if this elf has like gold or something like that. It's an elf. It's not a troll. So it's not a dwarf. Right. So I don't know how it's gonna how this elf is gonna pay him back. Especially, it doesn't seem to be a very rich elf, given that it was driving a Passat in the first place. Anyway, sentence 60 days for impersonating a judge. That was the sentence, and then we actually see.
Then there's Megan Thee.
There she is. Yep. There we see actual Megan Thee Stallion showing up. So yeah, this is where she has a conversation with Emil after he is released, and he suggests that you take control of the story. So she has this conversation that goes pretty well until the very end when they're like, She-Hulk is going to come up with her diet and exercise plan, and she's like, what? Yeah, I think this was a riff on all the crap that Scarlett Johansson got in like conversations. Like they would ask her some of the stupidest questions that they wouldn't ask any of the guys. So yeah, that was interesting. Oh, and then I almost forgot. Like, there's a lot happened in this episode. I forgot to let Wrecking Crew showed up.
The Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, their origin in the comics are pretty much as stupid as it is here. There was a crowbar that someone was going to attack, I think, Loki with. At the exact time that he's doing something, and it was imbued with Asgardian power, and stealing a bunch of equipment from a Asgardian construction worker is just as stupid as that, and also it's a shorter explanation. So I'm glad they went with that explanation. But anyway, you from this exchange we find out that someone was trying to steal her blood, and there's some boss that I guess we'll see later on, and this is how the episode ends. She sees this is going to be her life now, and it's kind of ends on like a sad note because she's looking at her face and she's looking about all her papers that she has to pick up off the ground. So yeah, that's how the episode ends.
So who was the boss of the Wrecking Crew? I
don't think that. I mean, they've worked for a bunch of people. I think they worked for
Kingpin. Was one of them?
Kingpin, the Red Hood or something like that, or which is going to be in which is going to be in the Riri show, the Ironheart show. That guy is going to be in the Ironheart show. There's also been like independent workers as well. So.
Got it.
Yeah. I haven't been paying attention to the internet. I mean, I saw some reactions to this episode. I don't know if is the internet talking about the Hulk twerking uh, with Megan Thee Stallion. Have you seen a lot of trending stuff?
I only saw one thing where it was like a meme that kind of showed that this scene right here, and then basically like the scene from Endgame where the Hulk was kind of like, oh, like that. That was the only thing I saw, and I was like, I mean, that's kind of innocent compared to probably some of the other things that said. But I'm actually interested as whether or not, why would Megan Thee Stallion need Jennifer Walters?
Well,
kind of weird. Is she a superhero?
She's not a superhero, but she has cause to sue the elf as well, right?
Okay.
She was impersonating her. And yeah, and also she's a large celebrity. So even though she's doing superhero stuff, I'm sure this guy is going to make an exception because really, the only reason he's doing the superhero stuff in the first place is for exposure, right? So if a superstar signs up, I'm so sure he'll let her defend her as well. So yeah. This was funny to me. This is the other part that I laughed out loud and played over and over again because they also play Megan Thee Stallion's song "Bodies" over this thing. This episode was fun. And it's what you expect from a comedy, like some laugh out loud. Like a lot of it was just like mildly amusing, and then you had some laugh out loud points here and there.
Yeah,
which is what you expect from a comedy. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So any other thoughts about the episode? Looking forward to what the next case is. We didn't get screeners for this show, unlike some of the other shows that we review. So I don't know what the next episode is, or I don't even know what the title is. But looking forward to seeing more with Titania because really we haven't seen her in 2 episodes now. We only saw her in some court sketches at the beginning of the second episode, and we saw her at the bottom of the scroll at the beginning of this episode. She was mentioned at the bottom of a newsreel of a news story scroll. So I don't know if she's going to be the big bad of the season. Because she's often like antagonist towards She-Hulk, but I guess we'll see.
That'll be kind of interesting because I think that the Emil Blonsky part is kind of like wrapped up. I think that there probably would be another big character. No, you don't think so?
So we from the trailers. I don't have any of these images handy, otherwise I would show you. But from the trailers, we know that she's going to be in a circle with Emil Blonsky at the retreat that she mentioned in this episode. Like he's going to set up a retreat on this land, and there's going to be a bunch of other super villains in like a circle, and she's going to be in that circle. So I don't know. I don't think he's going to show up in the next episode, but he might show up in like later on in the season because I think there's like 9 or 8 episodes. So she's going to go to his retreat at some point in the season. So,
do you think Daredevil's going to come to the next one, or do you think it's going to still be later?
I think it's going to be later because I don't have the screeners, or we don't have the screeners. But I think that from what I was listening to from other people who have the screeners, they mentioned that Daredevil hasn't shown up in the first 4 episodes that Disney gave them for the screeners. So I think he's showing up later on this season. So
okay,
I guess especially if they do like a case a week, he'll probably be her opponent in one of the weeks, or maybe it will be 2 weeks of him showing up. Like he'll show up as Matt Murdock and then show up as Daredevil the next week or whatever. So yeah. But yeah, there's a bunch of things that from the trailers that haven't showed up yet, like Daredevil, that the retreat from Emil once he gets out, Frogman. There's a bunch of stuff that's coming up in the coming weeks. So I'm looking forward to all that stuff. Because like I said, this was definitely a highlight for me. Hopefully it stays at this level, where I at least have a couple laugh out loud moments every week, and I'd be good. And I'll be satisfied with the show. All right. So that is what we think, but we are interested to hear what you guys think. So comment down below, like and subscribe to get more content like this, and we will see you next week when we will see you next week when we review episode 4. All right, guys. Bye. Thanks.